Hey there, it's Joy Foster, founder of Tech Pixies and the host of the Sparkle and Thrive podcast. And I've just come from the most amazing experience. And before I tell you about what that experience is, let me just tell you that I did not want to do it. In fact, I almost canceled at the last minute. And I'm really, really glad I didn't. And I want to tell you, before I tell you more about what I was doing, every once in a while, you get an opportunity that comes your way and it feels like the right thing to do and you take it. And that is sort of what happened in this situation. So one day, as I was scrolling along on Facebook, as you do, there was this woman in this beautiful red dress that popped up on my screen. And it was obviously an ad, but the ad talked about a photographer who was looking to photograph 40 women over 40. And she wanted to do it for 2022. And then she wanted to do this big event to get all the women together and to have all these portraits. And it's a fabulous idea. First of all, I think women in their 40s, I am one recently, I'm 42, some of the beginning of my 40s. But I think when you get to your 40s, your body starts to change and shift. And obviously, 45, I have a friend who actually has a blog about, once you're over 45, and she's been dying to interview me for about 10 years, but I've never been old enough to be interviewed. So we've kind of had a joke about that. But I do think a lot changes in your body in your 40s, and a lot changes in how you feel about yourself. And in fact, if I'm being honest, most of the pictures that I take these days, sort of selfies, etc., I feel a bit self-conscious, and I don't always love them. And I think it's important for you to hear me say that, because I believe in authenticity. So if you go and look at our Instagram feed, you're going to see a lot of authentic pictures of me. And they might not be my favorite pictures, but they are authentic, and they are my true self and a true representation of who I am. But I think sometimes we forget that when we're not doing the mom thing, that we actually can, dress up and look good. And I have to say the pandemic definitely did not help in terms of, getting us to glam up. I think we all glammed down, myself included. And I'm having a hard time, if I'm being honest, I'm having a hard time coming out of the glam down mode and trying to glam up. But there's a part of me that knows that that's going to be important in the next decade of my life. And beyond, that I actually do start to glam up a bit. And anyway, I saw this photo and it was stunning. And she said she was looking for 40 women over 40. Well, she had over 450 applications for this opportunity. And I feel really lucky because I was one of the people that she thought would be a good fit for the 40 over 40. And so I had it booked in, and I forgot about when I'd booked it in. And it's not that I missed it, but she called me to have a conversation about it, and we had a great conversation. But I just said, now's not the right time. Like I'm really struggling with some stuff at the moment. And we talked about the messy middle on my last podcast, and Tech Pixies relied very much on one route to market for almost 3 years, which was Facebook advertising. And when the iOS change came and that route to market effectively collapsed and had to completely be reworked, it had a major adverse effect on us. And it was something that I was not anticipating. And I had made some choices, which felt right at the time. A lot of times we make choices that feel right at the time, which turned out to be probably a little bit riskier than I would have liked, really. And as a business owner, you have choices around what you do, how you do it, what you invest in. And I invested heavily in coaching, which I value very, very much. And I learned so much from so many people. And then I also invested heavily in ads. And, I think the backlash of the ad spend, especially when all the coaches were saying to spend money on ads, that combination was like toxic, and it was really, really challenging to get through. But we got through it, and in fact, we're better off, and I'm in a much better place mentally and emotionally, and also, just how do I get through something like that and survive? I mean, when the iOS change happened, just to give you some context, companies went out of business. Like legit coaching businesses went out of business that had all their reliance on ads. So it was a real thing that affected a lot of people. And, we're very, very, very lucky and blessed to have stayed in business. And I'm super thankful for that. And this is the first time I've spoken about it on the podcast. Because first and foremost, you don't want to worry anybody. You don't want to worry your team, and you don't want to worry your students that you're not going to be able to deliver. And of course, at the end of the day, we were able to deliver, and we did figure it out. And we are figuring it out, and we are delivering. So, at the end of the day, we got through it. And, that is literally what the messy middle can feel like. And I did a big podcast episode on the messy middle. So I would go back and listen to that if you haven't listened to it before. So anyway, needless to say, it all went at the same time, and it was very, very stressful, and it massively affected our team. We had to let some people go, and some people decided to move on, and it is what it is, and you just keep going. If you believe in what you believe in, you figure out how to make it happen. Everything is figure outable, right? So this photo shoot was right in the middle of all this. I was supposed to do it, and Paulina, who's the photographer, I was really honest with her. I said, Paulina, there's just no way I can do it right now, emotionally, physically. I mean, I just can't go take pictures and etc. And she said, you know what, Joy, don't worry about it. Let's just reschedule. And so we moved it to May, and I can't remember when we were supposed to do it, but we were definitely doing it earlier on in the year. And anyway, we moved it to May. And it was fabulous. And like fabulous is an understatement. Paulina has complete care. She's got this huge heart for her clients. And, from the time that she connects with you to every time she spoke to me, I was going through something, and she knew it because, part of the deal was that, even though you got into the shoot, you still had to pay for the shoot because, you get to benefit from those photos that you can use for your business and everything else. And so I was sitting there going, I made a deposit, and I just was saying, oh, maybe I'll just eat the deposit. She's like, no, Joy, you can do this. You can do this. You can do this. And she really was sweet. She sent me like little voice notes and little videos of, chatting, and just always wanted to encourage me. And, that's what I call a partner in believing. Someone who believes in your dream no matter what, no matter what's going on. And we all need partners in believing in our life. We all need partners in believing. But when we're going through a really hard time, not only do we need partners in believing, but we need some other tools. And actually, the reason why I thought this was such a great episode to talk to you about was because, number one, to open up about some of the stuff that was going on, which I haven't talked about up until now. And part of the reason I didn't talk about it was because I was in the thick of it. And I remember Amy Porterfield once, and you all know Amy Porterfield is like a major, hero of mine. But Amy Porterfield once said, I don't talk about the wound when it's open. She's sort of like, once the wound has healed, she then starts talking about the stuff. And she's pretty open on her podcast about stuff that's going on with her, but not usually while she's going through it. And I think there is something to be said about that. I think being vulnerable is important, but I also think if you're a leader, you have to know when to be vulnerable and when to be strong, and who to be vulnerable with. I think that's been the other thing for me, is navigating who I can open up to about, the things that I might personally be struggling with. And my husband has been a huge person in that space. He is one of those people that just always believes it's going to work out. And you know what? Around him, it always does seem to work out, And, here's a guy who went to 3 Olympics, and he was, fifth, I think, in the first Olympics. And then the second Olympics, he was third. He got the bronze medal, and they missed out on the gold by literally 1 step. Like if you were to step with your feet, 1 step, that's how much he missed out on the gold. And when he went to go get the gold, the third Olympics, right, his second time for going for gold, he ended up losing, like big time. They got 4th place at the Lucerne World Cup, which is in Switzerland, and it's the final cup right before the Olympics. They got 4th place, and it was like a lot went wrong. A lot went wrong, and they thank God it wasn't the Olympics, right? And so they were able to regroup, make some changes, make some adjustments, and then they came back really strong in Sydney and won the gold medal in the Coxless 4. So my husband's a rower, was a rower. So, I think the point is that you have to surround yourself by people that you trust. And my husband, has had a lot of experience going through tough times and coming through them. And, and he just believes everything's going to work out. And you need people in your life like that. And I'm so thankful to have him in my life because, when I am having a hard day, I remember the day that I knew I was probably going to have to let most of the team go. Now, I haven't had to do that since 2018. But as my husband pointed out then, I was able to come back from it stronger. And, we know these things intuitively, but we need someone to tell us that and to help us with that. So, it's been tough. I'm not going to lie. It's been tough. It's been tough losing people that I love on the team who've been with me for over 3 years. That's really hard. People who are my friends, first and foremost, and then, really helped with Tech Pixies in the background. There's a lot of stuff that happens in the background that people don't realize that I'm now realizing because a lot of it's falling on my plate at the moment. But I just wanted to say that when you are going through the messy middle, you need support and you need people that believe in you, your partners in believing, and people that aren't going to get worried when you tell them what's going on, right? So you also, sometimes I realize, this isn't helpful for this person in my life because they're going to worry and I don't want them to worry. So I also am careful about who I talk to and whether or not they're going to worry. My husband doesn't worry about anything. So that's been one blessing that 13 years of marriage has given me, that in 13 years of marriage, I don't think he's ever worried about a single thing. And that's a gift, a real gift. I don't know how people do that, but I'm hopefully, maybe in the next 13 years, he can teach me. But here's what I want you to know. And this is really powerful and was very powerful for me and has been very powerful for me. So I had a moment yesterday where I was really frustrated. Now, this is the side that a lot of people don't see about me because it's not a side that I share, especially when I'm leading coaching sessions and everything else. And I sort of keep it to myself, my own frustration, etc. And I just work through it, and not always the best plan. But anyway, I just had a moment, and I got in the car, and I was going to pick up my daughter, and I got in the car, and I was just like, this is so effing hard. And I was like, every expletive that you could put out into the universe, I put it out there. I was like, this is so effing hard, and, I just, da-da-da-da-da, and I just really, shouted it out. Interestingly enough, the week before, my daughter had not been feeling good at school, so I went to pick her up. And I ended up in the nurse's station. And it was so funny because for teenagers, they had like a list of things that you can do for your mental health to make you feel better. And one of the things that can make you feel better is to scream it out. So subconsciously, I had taken that note and I decided, well, let's just do that. Let's test out that theory. So I just got in the car and I just screamed it out. No one could hear me. I didn't hurt anybody, didn't hurt myself, but I really just let it rip. Like, I was really angry about just, I work so hard, hard. I stay so focused on the vision all the time, and I stay positive all the time. And I do have naysayers, there's no doubt about it that there are people that kind of, that question your decisions and question, what you're doing, but they're doing that because they're concerned for you and they're concerned for, the company, and, they want things to work out. So they're doing it from a good place. But there are, you do deal with that, and that's a normal thing to deal with, some kind of opposition, or not necessarily opposition, but just a questioning of, are you doing the right thing? And should you be doing this? Should you be doing that? How can we do that, etc. So I've definitely had to work through, staying positive through a lot of that too. And, bank loans, right? How many times I mean, Howard Feather he runs this amazing women in business networking group, and I gave a talk there a couple years ago. We should really put that on the podcast, but I gave a talk about the history of funding tech pixies, and I won't go into all the details here, but it's a patchy history. Like there's a lot of different ways that we've funded tech pixies, from startup loans to crowdfunding to investment to social loans to grants. There's a million different ways that we have funded this business, and the funding has been important for scaling, right? I know what it's like to run a business that turns over 30 to 50 to 100,000 a year. I did that for many, many years. And that's a brilliant thing for a lot of people to do. But for me, I really wanted to grow and scale a business. I wanted to not help 100 women, but 1,000 women, right? Now I want to help, 1,000,000 women, right? So I think we have to also be true to ourselves. And for me, I wanted to build something bigger than myself. And I have successfully done that. But when you do that, there comes additional responsibility. And it was so funny because you do realize that as you move up this scale, that, the bigger the scale, the bigger the problems, right? And so it's one of those things where you just actually realize, okay, I got to learn how to handle the problems at this level, because there's going to be new ones that come up that are bigger at a different level, right? There was a time when the payroll for Tech Pixies was a fraction of what it has been recently, right? And so there's things that you learn as you push to do something more advanced. And so the reason that this whole photo shoot is so interesting is that even up until last night, I was like, you know what? I'll just eat the deposit and I'll just cancel. And I got too much work to do because I got to catch up. And I don't, like you all know, I lost half my team, and I've got to there's a lot of work I got to do because I'm doing the work of about 6 people right now, right? So I just thought I'm just going to cancel. And I messaged a partner in believing. And I think this is really important, that you have partners in believing. You have people who are going to hold your dream. And I said to her, I don't think I should do this photo shoot tomorrow. And she said, I think you should do it. And she said, I think it'll be good for you. I think it'll be good for you to get you out of the office and get you out of the stressful feeling, the stressful situation. And just go and do something different and be with other people. And I was like, okay, fine, I'll do it. And what's the worst that can happen? So I woke up this morning with a completely different outlook on life. I'd stayed up really late because I was trying to do the job with 6 people. And then I woke up really early because I had to go early because I had to drive into London. And I got there, and right before I got there, I stopped at a petrol station. I thought, well, I'll just get a little breakfast because I forgot to get breakfast. And I got this message through from Pauline, and she goes, I've got all the food. I've just run out to get it. Don't you worry. Come on over. She literally had bought this incredible spread of food, and she laid it all out, and then she took a picture of it or a little video of it and sent it to me. And I was like, this is crazy. This person, she cares so much about me and how I feel and how my day goes. I mean, it just made me think, what else? What could I do to improve, the experience of my students, right? You want your clients to have the most incredible experience. You want them to want to work with you and to be thankful to work with you, and that you want them to want it to be memorable, right? This is a huge part of it. And that's one of the reasons why when people join Tech Pixies, but when they join the Social Media Mastery VIP group coaching program, we send them, a handwritten thank you note, and we send them a notebook that says "Be brave and sparkle" with their name on it, right? We do those little touches too, and I think it's really important to do those touches. And I remember a meeting once where we were discussing whether or not we should cut the budget for those extra things, and we decided not to cut the budget for the notebook and the thank you cards because we thought they were really, really important to onboard people in a really positive way and quickly, and to help them feel welcome and part of the tribe. So, that was important to me. So I was reflecting on how she made me feel. Like every time I'm around Paulina, like just voicemail, video, or in person, she just exudes this like genuine love for you and for what she does. She's incredibly good at what she does. And you know it because she's super confident in what she does as well. Like to the core, she really knows that she's good at what she does. And I love being around people like that because there's magic. There's magic being around people who to the core know that they're good at what they do. And, you know, it's a really important thing for women in particular to get good at what they want to get good at and then to know it and to own it, right? To really own it. And, you know, I think Paulina owns it. I think she totally owns it. But I also talked in a previous podcast about being a person of increase. And Paulina gets it. She totally gets what that is to be a person of increase, to make someone else's life better just by being in your presence, right? So that's what she did for me today. You know, here I was. I didn't want to come. I didn't get a lot of sleep. I was worried about how it was all going to pan out. You know, also, no joke, when I signed up, it was before Christmas. I think it might have even been like last year before everything went down. So I'd signed up in a time period where everything was going really well, and and I wanted to sort of like lean into that and sort of find my power and get some new brand photography. We have some amazing photography over the years from different tech pixies who have gone into brand photography. And I love those photos, but I do believe very strongly that every few years you need to do new photos. And I really wanted someone like Paulina, right? I wanted someone who got what it was like to be this big thinking entrepreneur and wanted to help me portray that in photos, because I haven't yet been able to personally get across the strength that I think has come into my life in the last few years. And so when Paulina and I were talking, it was really about how do we show the transformation? How do we show the transformation from, you know, someone who had no idea what she was doing to someone who, you know, has gone through the thick of it and come out the other end stronger, right? As she's moving towards this dream. And that's what I think Paulina captured today. But she did it in a way that was just absolutely incredible. So first and foremost, I showed up at 10:30 and she had Cindy there, who was her makeup artist. And Cindy was amazing. And, you know, I don't like a lot of makeup. In fact, I never wear makeup. I never have liked it. It always sort of bothered me, and my skin doesn't really like it either. So it's just not something that I do on a regular basis. But occasionally I do wear it. And then obviously for photos, you do have to wear it because of the whitewash that happens with the lighting. And so Cindy did this amazing job with the makeup. And then she also did my hair. It's always fun to get your hair done, like super fun. Like, actually, I mean, I know probably the Duchess of Cambridge and Michelle Obama and Jamie Kern-Lima and all, you know, everyone who gets their hair and makeup done all the time as part of their job, they probably are, you know, I don't know if they love it or not. I don't want to make an assumption, but I have to say, when you get your makeup done right and you get your hair done right, you just look fabulous. And she had a very talented makeup artist, very talented hair artist, and she did a brilliant job. And it was so funny because they put this mirror up to show you when you're done. They don't let you see what's happening, and then when you're done, they show you this mirror. And I was like, oh my gosh, I look 20 years younger. Like, I really thought that I looked like I was the same that I looked when I was 20. It literally, the makeup and the hair took 20 years off me. And it was so empowering and so much fun. And I sort of knew that whatever was going to happen from then on, it was going to be great. But Paulina's got all these like little tricks for how you put your head and your body and your hips to enhance your curves and highlight your best parts. And she's really good at it. And so we had a lot of fun with that. She made me really, really comfortable. And it's interesting because this isn't my first photo shoot, and I don't say that in like a arrogant way. I've only done a handful of photo shoots in my whole life, and really, in all honesty, I've been very uncomfortable in all of them. And one in particular stands out. I was handpicked by Ralph Lauren when I was in my 20s to be in the Olympic campaign for the 2008 Olympics. because I was one of the top 6 archers in the country, and they wanted to pick Olympic hopefuls for the Beijing campaign. And I was flown out to New York, and we spent a whole day with the Ralph Lauren team. It was hours and hours and hours. I had fake hair, and I had, all my makeup done and everything. It was absolutely incredible. So, but I will say I never felt comfortable. Like, not once did I feel comfortable. And actually, when you look at the photos, they are powerful photos, but I was uncomfortable. And you can tell compared to some of the other athletes that were a lot more comfortable than I was. They were in sports that were photographed a lot more than I was. Like archery, no one photographs archery, but Brianna Glenn was in there, and she was a track star, and the other person that was in there, you'll never believe this, but was the boxer. He boxed against Tyson. He's the guy that wears the mask. Oh, I'm blanking on his name right now. Anyway, he was in the photo shoot with me, and then a rower. There was a Greek American rower. So anyway, it was a fun photo shoot, but I was super uncomfortable. And then I've only done a couple other photo shoots since, and that's really been around the brand. And like I said, just never felt comfortable. So to be in a space where someone makes you feel comfortable is absolutely incredible. And she really genuinely did. She made me feel 100% comfortable. And, Cindy made me look absolutely fabulous. And so she really helped me to see that it was possible to feel comfortable and get these photos done. And the photos were so much fun, and they were beautiful. And in the end, she took about 350 photos, and we narrowed them down to 8. And I'm really, really excited about being able to share these photos. But I guess the point is to say that sometimes we make decisions that feel like good decisions at the time, and then circumstances, situations, and conditions change, and then we think, I don't think I'm really meant to do this thing that I thought I was going to do. And we try and back out of it, or pull out of it, or maybe don't do it at all. And literally, I was at that point where I was going to send an email last night saying, I'm not going to do this. I'm not coming. But I have learned a few things now that I am a certified master neuro coach and a certified dream builder and life mastery consultant. I've learned a lot about your vision and holding true to your vision and working through the blocks and the barriers that hold you back from your vision. And Paulina knows about this too. She had a vision board. It was the most incredible vision board I'd ever seen, and she had it all. It was like professionally printed, and she had quadrants for she had quadrants filled out with all the things that she would love. She was super clear on her vision, and I thought that was brilliant, and I thought that was really important, and it was really cool to be with someone who really got that type of living, where you hold steadfast to a vision even if it feels crazy and outlandish to a lot of other people. So what I'm saying is, I didn't want to do it, and you might be listening to this, and you might have signed up for something, and you might be thinking, I'm just going to bail on this thing. I'm just going to eat my deposit. That's what I was thinking. I'm just going to eat my deposit, just bail on this thing, and just chalk it off to, it just didn't work out this time. And the thing is, that, my friends, is what you don't want to do. You want the partner in believing. You want the friend that says, do it anyway, do it anyway. And that encourages you to lean into that initial feeling and that initial intuition that you had. And so I have a phrase, I learned it from one of my mentors, and it's a phrase that I have put into my brain prime. I have a couple of phrases that I put in my brain prime. Those of you who are new to Tech Pixies, you've never heard of a brain prime before, it's something that we do to help rewire the subconscious. And I won't go into all the details here, but basically you create a statement that's positive, and that rewrites a neurological pathway that you might have had previously. So I believe big time in brain priming, so that we can start to reprogram the subconscious so that we can unlock our full potential. I mean, I believe in this massively, and I've seen it happen for so many women that I work with. That I really truly believe that if you do this practice of brain priming, which we do at Tech Pixies in both the Dream Builder program and the Social Media Mastery program, that you will overcome these barriers and blocks. But the other thing we have to do is we have to have a vision. We have to know, where do we want to go? What does that look like? And as we start to say that out loud and write it down and create a vision board for it. I talked to you about the fact that we have a vision board training at Tech Pixies. If you go to techpixies.com/Canva, you can get the vision board training. And we'll teach you how to use Canva, which is an online design tool, at the same time as teaching you how to create a vision board. And I think vision boards are super, super powerful. So as you hold steady to the vision, you hold steadfast to this vision, and you work through the barriers and blocks that are stopping you from doing it. And you take action, right? This is important. Focus on the vision, take action. These are the steps you got to do, right? Now, this last piece is so important, because there's going to be times when you are focused on the vision, you are taking action towards the vision, and you're feeling like this is just not moving the direction I want it to go quicker or quickly, and you get frustrated and you get annoyed and you get angry. And I know this because I have been there, and I know that everyone has a different human experience, but that's been my human experience, just getting to that point where you're just super frustrated. And getting into the car and screaming your head off and just saying, this is so effing hard, right? Which is what I did. So how do you shift that? How do you shift that energy? Because that's not good energy, right? You don't want to go from screaming your head off to, how do we shift away from screaming our head off to what we want? And one of the things that I started to do immediately was to start picking a more empowering thought. What's a more empowering thought? And so instead of screaming, it's like, okay, all right, I've screamed enough. What's a more empowering thought? Okay, more empowering thought is I can figure this out. Everything is figure outable. I can figure this out. Everything's figure outable. I can figure this out. And I'm going to come out of this stronger. And I just started saying those words over and over and over again. I'm going to come out of this stronger. I'm going to be better off for it. It's all going to work out. It's going to be fine. It's going to be fine. It's all going to work out. It's going to be fine. And I remember listening to Jamie Kern-Lima's book, which is a fabulous book if you've not listened to it. It's called Believe It. And I remember listening to her book, and because I prefer Audible to reading books. It's just easier for me. I have a bit of, it's not necessarily dyslexia, but it's like dyspraxia, not dyspraxia, it's dyscalculia, thank you. So dyscalculia is like when you get your numbers and your directions and your times and your dates sort of, they get all jumbled up, which happens to me a lot. And I haven't really taken the steps I need to do to deal with that, apart from identifying that that's what's going on with me. But it does also mean that when I read something, I'm constantly thinking, and I have, up until now, I've struggled to really be able to read something for a long time without my brain wandering on to the million ideas that I have, because I have a million ideas. Like, if you know me, you know I've got a lot of ideas, and I've got a lot of thoughts, and I've got a lot of things. So it's like working 24/7 in my brain. And I, up until now, I haven't really figured out how I work on that, apart from doing some, short 2-minute meditations and focusing on, candle flame, things like that, that I've been told to do. It's something I've still got to work on. So needless to say, I prefer listening to Audible, but I remember this one day when I was listening to Jamie Kern-Lima's book, Believe It. And it's about a 4.5 hour book. And I went out for a run. It was like a 10K run. And I ended up just staying out. Like I ended up going 10K as a run, and then I ended up walking 10K home. So I ended up doing like 20K that day, just so I could listen to this book and just so I could finish this book. And it is such a powerful book. But one of the things that happened is I finished the book right at, there's like a ruins of an abbey in Oxford, and it's towards Port Meadow, or past Port Meadow, near Wolvercott. And so I had got all the way out to that place, and I was listening to the book, and the book finished, and I'm in this abbey, and the sky was blue, and it was so powerful. And the message that I took from the book was, it's all going to be all right. It's all going to be okay. It's all going to work out. And one of the things, and this is the sentence that I added into my brain prime, there's two sentences. One is, every day in every way, I'm getting better and better. Every day in every way, I'm getting better and better. And the other one that I added in there was, you are more powerful than any situation, circumstance, or condition. And that's something I learned from Mary Morrissey, who certified me to run our Dream Builder program and also do the mastermind that we're running now called Level Up, where I'm working with women to help them build 50 to 100,000 pound businesses. Because I know how to do that. I've done it organically without paid advertising, and I can help women do that. And I had to have partners in believing who convinced me that I was good enough, right? I didn't want to run a mastermind, but people who love me and know me well were like, Joy, why do you not have a mastermind? Why aren't you helping people on a higher level who want to go to build a 50 to 100,000 pound business? You know how to do this. Why aren't you doing it? So I finally got up the courage to open up a mastermind, and we have an incredible group of women that just started in that group. And I'm super excited about what the next year, 2, 3, 4, 5 years is going to bring. But I guess the point is that one of the things that I had to start teaching myself and also them is, I am greater than any situation, circumstance, or condition. And that is super important for you to know, for me to know, that we can think our way out of any situation, right? And we can have a totally different thought, a totally different perspective. And just by changing our perspective, we can change our situation. And if you don't believe this can be done in even the most extreme circumstances, well, there is a really great book about prisoners of war, and there's a story about a guy who was a prisoner of war in Vietnam, I think for 8 years, and he was talking about the people who died, like the people in the prisoner of war camp that didn't make it, and he said it was the optimists that didn't survive. And what did he mean by that? He didn't mean that it was wrong to be optimistic, but what he said was, they were optimistic to a fault, in that they believed that they were going to get rescued at Christmas, or they believed that they were going to get rescued at Easter. And then he said Christmas and Easter would come around, and then they would realize they weren't going to be rescued, and then they would lose all hope. They would lose all hope. So they were optimistic up until the point that the condition and the circumstance, didn't change. And then when it didn't change, they lost their hope. This is so important, right? Because we have to know that in any situation, circumstance, or condition, we can change our minds, even if it doesn't feel like or look like we can change the situation, circumstance, or condition. And that was his point. So he had this perspective, which was, I will be rescued, full stop. I don't know when I will be rescued, but I will be rescued. And the situation right now is that I am in a POW camp, and I am just going to have to deal with the situation as it is. And as a business owner, we face this all the time, right? As we're building a business, we go, this is the situation, circumstance, and condition that I'm in. And am I going to let it overpower me, or am I going to change my thoughts and take control and be in control of my thoughts? And this is so important. And if you, there's some fantastic books, obviously, about survivors of World War II and their resilience. Of course, one of my favorite stories is that of Dame Stephanie Shirley, Steve, who I'm hoping to get onto the podcast to talk about her book, Let It Go. But, she was a child that was evacuated as part of the kinder transport. And really, she decided at a very young age, I am going to live a life worth saving. Now, can you imagine being 8 years old and deciding that you're going to live a life worth saving? Every human life is worth saving, but she actually knew that her life was saved and her life was at risk. And not only did she know that it was at risk, and she knew that she was saved, but she decided to use that to change the world, and she did. She's an incredible person, and I hope we get to get her soon onto the Joy Book Club. I'm looking forward to that because I have been waiting forever to get her on, and it's going to be amazing. Just to be around people like that is just so incredible. But she's someone who, despite the situation, circumstance, or condition, was able to hold steadfast to what her vision was and who she was going to become. And let me tell you, it was not easy for her. In the 1960s, a woman could not have a bank account, right? In the 1960s, a woman, and even, let me just be honest, even in the 1990s and the 2000s and the 2010s and the 2020s, there are cases where women are afraid of sexual assault within their jobs. It's a real thing. I mean, I have people who've come into the Tech Pixie program because they don't want to work in an office because they've been under threat, right? So here's the deal. It was tough being a woman in the 1960s running a business. And not only that, but she was hiring other women, and she was coding. She coded the black box. She was absolutely incredible. But the thing is, she didn't just have that. She had a son who had severe autism. And so not only was she running this huge, what became ultimately a £3 billion business, but she was also living in a home with a child with severe autism. And, the challenges that brought and the breaking points that it brought. She herself had breakdowns and ended up in the hospital as a result. And her son ended up going into full-time care, which she then, most of her fortune, she has reinvested in autism research, and she set up and has heavily funded Autistica. And she's done all this incredible work to make life for children with autism better, right? And to help the families of children with autism. She's an absolutely incredible person. But I guarantee you, and I have met her in person. I went to a dinner. I've heard her speak twice in person, and I went to a dinner with her privately at the House of Lords, and with Lord Billamora, who is the guy who started Cobra Beer. Talk about a fascinating dinner conversation. But she is focused on the vision. She is vision driven. And you got to ask yourself in life, am I condition driven or am I vision driven? And that's what this is about. This is about being vision driven and knowing that no matter what the situation, circumstance, or condition is, you can think your way out of it. You can think from a new perspective, and you can take on an entirely different viewpoint of the situation. So I'll leave that with you, but I just want you to know, if you want support in working through some blocks or in changing your perspective on a particular condition, circumstance, or situation, email me. Email me at support@techpixies.com. I do one-on-one coaching, and I would love to coach you. I also have amazing programs, the Social Media Mastery Program, where we dive into teaching you social media, but also we have the Dream Builder Program, which is all about leaning into your dreams. So, if you're not sure what you want to use social media for, the Dream Builder Program is a great place to start, right? It's a fabulous place to start. Or if you know what you want to use social media for and you're pretty darn good at it and you don't need social media training, but you want to dream a bigger dream, then the Dream Builder Program is perfect for you. Or maybe you just want some one-on-one support. However I can serve you, that's my job. That's my purpose. And I was joking in an earlier podcast episode about how I used to spend days of my life and hours of my life praying to God for my purpose. And you know what? The job that I ended up doing, the job that I am doing, it didn't even exist in all those years. I call them my dark years, the 18 years where I was like, what's my life's purpose? I found it. And it's in helping women to become empowered, helping women to lean into who they were meant to be, to rewrite and rewire all of the fears that are holding them back. And I would love to work with you. So reach out to me, support@techpixies.com. We also, hopefully by now, have an awesome video ask tool on our website where you can send me a video message or a text message or me or somebody on my team can reply to you. And so we'd love to hear from you. And if you've enjoyed this podcast, please share it. Please share it with your friends. And we also have a special gift for anyone who leaves us a review. If you submit that review to techpixies.com/podcast, you can get a free podcasting guide. And I know if Paulina's listening to this, she was really curious about where she could get a free podcasting guide because she wants to start a podcast. And I cannot wait to be a guest on her podcast. Anyway, thanks for indulging me. I have loved having a chat with you, and I hope you got a lot of value out of this. I certainly enjoyed sharing some of my favorite life lessons with you. And until next time, I hope you have a great, great day. Bye for now.